Step into the world of Tim Burton and Danny Elfman with the San Francisco Symphony. Hear music from Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and more. Performed live by the San Francisco Symphony with stunning visuals. Plus, a special live performance by Danny Elfman himself, November 13th and 14th at Davies Symphony Hall. Don't miss Danny Elfman's music from the films of Tim Burton, November 13th and 14th only. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.
And now it's time for No Pucks Given with Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin Scoops locker room buzz and straight-up analysis. No fluff, all hockey. Now, here's Dan.
Well, it is No Pucks Given here on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms, the Odyssey Podcast Network, YouTube, Facebook, and I don't know where everybody puts the show, but you can get this No Pucks Given episode, I think, number 38, wherever you get your podcast, Apple and Spotify and all those fun stuff. So we've got a pretty fun show. I'm tired of hearing myself talk for 45 minutes to an hour. So I've decided to add a co-host now going forward, at least when we can make schedules work. From the Fischler Report, longtime Penguins scribe, Vince Comunale. Hey, Vince, thank you for putting up with me and doing this show with me.
Hey, anytime. I love talking hockey.
Yeah. Notice Vince didn't say talking to me. He said talking to hockey. All right, Vince. So here are the handful of topics that I've quickly jotted down as I've run home from the arena Sunday night to record this podcast, which people will hear Monday morning as I am flying to Sweden. Because, I didn't want to go to the Paul McCartney concert or anything. I wanted to go to Sweden for 2 games over the course of a week. I digress. We're going to talk about the state of the Penguins. 1 point on, or actually 1 point over the weekend. Is this A, the hockey gods just taking a couple back? B, a bad weekend? Or C, are we now getting into a trend? We're also going to talk about the rookies, Harrison Brunick, what they're going to do with him. Sergei Murashov makes his much anticipated NHL debut on Sunday. Looked pretty good. Got a pretty good glove hand, if I do say so. Yes. But also there's a couple of young players sort of beginning to over-ripen down in Wilkes-Barre. Those are Owen Pickering and Tristan Brose. So we'll talk about the handful of rookies. And I guess I should put Ville Koivunen on that list as well. What comes next with Ville too. I suppose, Vince, we can probably start the show with just a little send-up of the resurrection of Ryan Graves. Led the Penguins in shots on Sunday with 5. Tied for the team lead with shots on Saturday with 3. Playing good defense. What the heck happened? But also some near 40-year-olds, Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, near the top of the league in scoring. Sidney Crosby, I guess, by not playing one game, or other players playing extra games, has fallen to 3rd in the league in goal scoring, while Malkin is still top 5 in scoring.
Yeah, tops in assists.
Yeah. Vince, a 39-year-old isn't supposed to put up points like this.
No. I'm actually writing something right now for my website.
Go ahead and plug it.
Vincecom.com. Pretty easy to remember.
Vincecom.com.
Yeah. The standard by which players aged 38 to 45 is set by Gordie Howe. Gordie Howe had 103 points in his age 42 season. Other than Gordie Howe and Jaromir Jagr, we've never seen players at age 38 or above play quite like Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby are to start this season. I know they're not going to average, 1.21 points a game or whatever it is throughout the rest of the season. But, we've seen Sid in every season of his career average at least a point a game. And in Malkin's career, 15 of his seasons, he's averaged at least a point a game. So I don't see any reason why they can't keep up a point a game pace.
Well,
but
that's the interesting thing, because they have so feasted on the power play early in the season.
yes,
Their 5-on-5 production has to even out, because for all of the chattering, the analytics crowd, they're smart. Just ask them. The Penguins, PDO is so overrated and all of that. Sidney Crosby does not have a great PD. I mean, the number of chances that his line is not converting, when that begins to equalize, he's going to have a lot more 5-on-5 points. And it's astounding to me how well, actually, I guess I expected this of Crosby, because I don't know. He's never given us a reason not to expect absolute greatness. But Malkin, his mistake on Sunday notwithstanding, has been exceptional this season. Really just moving well and moving the puck and playing like he's 10 years younger.
Yeah, I was actually going to say he's got a little like giddy up to his step this season that we didn't see last. Well, we saw at the beginning of last season too, but he really kind of fell off a cliff as the season went on. But he looks like a force out there. I think to me, he's playing with a lot more confidence because he's playing with two gigantic wingers. Well, until Brazeau got hurt. And I think that they're opening space for him to create and just, generate more offense. And it seems like he's playing with more confidence out there because there's more space out there for him in which to operate. And obviously, the power play speaks for itself. But I think moving forward, the team's really going to have to continue to capitalize on the power play to stay where they're at in the standings, because 5-on-5, they're not generating much right now. And especially with some key injuries, especially to Raquel, they're going to have to really capitalize on their power play chances.
What do you think? Can Anthony Mantha, I mean, you could knock me over with a feather if he actually continued about this pace and scored 40 goals. But can this guy score 25 to 30? I mean, I have to tell you, from what I've seen so far, I love his game. He is doing things that people said he doesn't do. I mean, he looks like a different player than sort of the washout with the Capitals and Detroit.
He plays a simple game. I mean, it's for the most part a north-south game. He goes to the front of the net. He kind of wreaks havoc. I'm not going to say wreaks havoc. He's not like a Patrick Hornquist or anything in front of the net like that. But to me, he's playing a simple game. And like I said,
he's also slick. Like those hands.
Yeah, he does have good hands, which surprised me. I know he kind of had a high pedigree when he first came into the league. But admittedly, I haven't gotten a chance to really examine his game throughout his career. But the hands,
A, he's been injured, or B, getting traded.
Yeah, exactly. But the hands are something that really surprised me. He definitely has like a soft touch with his hands. And I think that he's never played with a guy like Malkin before either. And I think that he's really thriving with playing with Malkin as his center.
Well, long time ago, you're making me feel old. Yeah, when he was with the Capitals, he got some good top six time, and the Capitals certainly had maybe perhaps not quite to Evgeny Malkin's caliber. I don't know if he played with Nick Backstrom too much back then. I don't remember.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, the Capitals were not short on talent back then. But okay, so I guess the question, though, A, is this the hockey gods taking a couple back from the Penguins? B, just a bad weekend? Or C, is this weekend where they gain 1 point despite outplaying two opponents? Is this the trend?
Yeah, I think it's more of the hockey gods taking a couple back. Okay. Because I think that they won some games earlier this season they had no business winning.
Several.
Yeah, more than one. I think that they're not the top team in the Eastern Conference, as they had a chance to be yesterday if they would have won that game in New Jersey. But I do think that they are a playoff team, like a 6, 7, 8 seed, the way that they're playing. They're playing. I'm hesitant to say they're playing well defensively because they're giving up multiple goal leads in a lot of games recently. But
the odd man rushes, and it's just almost in their DNA to get stupid.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it. You don't see other teams just heaping odd man rushes on their goalie like the Penguins do. And it's not bad bounces or bad luck. It's bad decisions.
Very bad decisions. I mean, that play that Chris Letang made yesterday in New Jersey that led to Jersey's goal. I mean,
the drop pass to no one.
I mean, the only thing worse that I've ever seen is the drop pass into the empty net in Arizona a couple seasons ago. I mean, I don't know what
he's still mad about that, by the way.
Yeah, well, he should be. I don't know what he's thinking there. And Erik Karlsson's playing much better defensively this year, but sometimes I still watch him play, and I just don't know what he's thinking. I mean, there was a play he decided to make in the overtime against Philadelphia last week. Like, maybe he didn't realize it was overtime. Maybe he didn't realize it was 3-on-3. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, most teams, when they have a 3-0 lead going into the third period, would really clamp down and make sure that they win the game 3-0, 3-1. Not the Penguins. They keep on trying to score. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter what the situation is. They will never change as long as that core three of guys are here. And it's frustrating, I'm sure, as a fan to watch, especially, points are precious, and to lose that game in regulation without even getting a point in Toronto after leading 3-0. And even today, going into the third, leading 2-1, and then not getting a point out of that's going to be a long flight to Sweden.
Well, yeah, Dan Muse, I think for the first time this season, really was upset. There was an undertone of anger after the game. I mean, like that parent when the voice gets heavy and deep, he had a bit of that going. The NHL.com reporter, one of the national ones, came in to cover the game today because he's just going to, basically follow the team to Sweden and wanted a little bit of a springboard sort of coverage. So he very graciously, actually, I appreciated his professionalism, not to try to jump the line and ask a soft question before the hard hockey questions. By the way, for podcast listeners, if you ever want to see Dan or a couple other serious reporters just get a look of disgust, watch one of these scrum killers ask a boneheaded question. So when there's real hockey questions to ask, I digress.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You've been in these scrums and you've got like things you have to address. This play, this situation, and somebody wants to go like off on a tangent with something personal or happy in a very sour moment. You're like, no, because as soon as they do that, now the media scrum is over. Now the player's like off kilter, like, okay, now I'll talk about this. Yeah. And you can't pull them back. Okay, now as to why you sucked, let's get back into this. You
see it a lot. The game ends 4-3 in a shootout, and the first question is, what do you think of those third jerseys that you wore tonight? It's like, what are we doing here? Anyway, I digress too.
Fortunately, the scrum killers in the Penguins universe have actually all kind of gone away. I really can't tell you the last time a colleague did that. It's quite nice. Don't get me wrong. It's the out of towners. I won't say which city that the Penguins. This is a whole tangent we're going to talk about. I guess this is what a podcast is for, I suppose. There is one city that drives the Penguins PR bananas because they all like swarm around the star players and invariably only ask about their own players. Hey, what do you think about our captain? Hey, what do you think about our winger?
Yeah.
And the Penguins player.
Step into the world of Tim Burton and Danny Elfman with the San Francisco Symphony. Hear music from Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and more. Performed live by the San Francisco Symphony with stunning visuals. Plus, a special live performance by Danny Elfman himself, November 13th and 14th at Davies Symphony Hall. Don't miss Danny Elfman's music from the films of Tim Burton, November 13th and 14th only. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.
Are like, yeah, they're good. I what do you want me to say? And they just, yeah, it's kind of relentless. That's actually funny because this year I knew to look for it. Last year I was caught in the middle of it trying to do a hockey story, and I got swarmed by those moths and gnats. This year I stood back and watched. I watched the PR just like fold their arms and get uptight, and I watched the player fidget and try to figure out a way out of the questions. It was quite funny, actually.
It's always awkward. I've written for a lot of publications, as have you, and some of the national.
Actually, no, I've only written for one publication.
Oh, it seems like you've written for a bunch, but maybe not.
Well, I was always doing radio. That's why I've been around forever and a day.
But yeah, I've written for a bunch of them, and one of the national ones, they would send us questions to ask. And again, we're getting off on a tangent, completely different here, but that's the point of a podcast, I guess. It was the last game before the Olympic break. It was at the Civic Arena. The Penguins had just beaten Nashville like 5-0. And you remember the visitors' locker room in the old Civic Arena. It was
was no better than a dank Muni locker room.
Yeah. It's like a local. I've played in better rinks and locker rooms locally here. So I'm the only reporter in the room because Nashville very rarely sends a reporter to away games.
Right.
And I have to traipse through all the hockey bags and get to Shea Weber because they wanted me to ask Shea Weber what he thought about the Olympics. And Shea Weber was not in a great mood to answer any questions after losing 4-0. And, he kind of just gave me this look like, this is what you're asking me after a 4-0 loss. And I'm like, I wanted to say to him, not my question. This is what they wanted me to ask you.
Now, see, I would have said that. Listen, man, I'm, the outlet we want to write a story on this. I know, and I apologize. I have had some success when I have to do that. But yeah, okay. So we were talking, I guess we can flip the page because I'm just going to say, I actually think this is a bit of a trend with the Penguins. They still, I still don't feel like they've gelled in Dan Muse's system. The inconsistency will always be there with this team. What Muse is asking of them defensively, sometimes it seems like their inconsistency exacerbates their shortcomings defensively.
Yeah.
And I think if there is an undoing, if there's a spiral this season, it's going to come once again giving up leads, defensive mistakes, and that sort of thing. It won't come on the scoring side of things. I think they'll figure that part out. But they really, Muse is asking them to be good in the defensive zone, take a man-to-man coverage in the hard areas of the ice and know when to release your guy. And the Penguins are really good at releasing players. They're not so good at picking them up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to create offense from playing good defense, and it was working great for the first 10 games. The last 7, not so much. I mean, they're in every game, and as we've seen the last 3, they even have leads in these games. But like you said, there's a difference between releasing and picking up, and they're not picking up.
I feel like Seinfeld in the car rental. Anyone can take a reservation. The key is to hold the reservation. Anyone can release the player. The key is picking up the play. Exactly. Okay, let's talk about the rookies. Harrison Brunick, I think, is probably top of mind. Ben Kindle has transcended everything. Yeah. At this point, he very well is in line to get, maybe some back-end Calder Trophy votes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, really, he is. So it's almost not fun talking about him right now because I've done it so much. Harrison Brunick has played his 9 games. He is with the team still. I asked Dan Muse before the game on Saturday, okay, is, still status quo with Brunick? And he gave me a really cryptic answer, Vince. And I haven't written about it because I didn't want to write about it and then them pull the rug out from under me and send him back to juniors or play his 10th game today. But he's like, oh, we've got a very detailed plan. We're continuing to follow through and execute on that plan. And I want to say, okay, can you share that plan with anybody else? But what do you think? Is this just a prelude to keep him around, keep him practicing with the guys before they send him back to juniors to limit his exposure in the WHL before presumably he goes to Team Canada in mid-December? Or are they going to keep him around, kind of prolonging his season with plenty of healthy scratches and then send him to Team Canada, bring him back, and that sort of thing? What do you think? Which way do they go?
I think that he's going back to junior, but I think for whatever reason, they want to keep him around to get him the experience of going to Sweden. I think they want him to be around the team as much as possible and, get him that kind of bonding experience with the guys going to Sweden and get the, continue to practice, get the whole NHL experience. But I don't think he's going to play either of the games in Sweden. And then I think when they get back, I think he's going to be sent back to junior.
I was actually leaning toward sort of, I don't want to call it nefarious, but a little bit sneaky, in which they kind of work him in. They scratch him for enough games where they can send him down to the AHL on a conditioning assignment, at which point then they can send him to Team Canada for the World Juniors. They bring him back. They scratch him a few more games. Maybe they play him, several games, from mid-January to early February, at which point then you've got the Olympic break. I guess they can't send him down to the AHL during the Olympic break, which is silly beyond belief, but I digress. You come out of the Olympic break, you can actually send him back to juniors. You can send him back to juniors in February or March, provided he hasn't, played the 40 games. And I kind of see them going that way, where it's really intricate. They get him as much professional hockey as they possibly can, while balancing the need to win games. I think Connor Clifton and Ryan Graves playing so well the last couple of games really underscored just how shaky Pickering and Brunick were. For those.
That was a bad pair. Yeah, that was.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking on that, Vince.
I don't either. I don't know why you would pair those two together, and not only why would you pair those two together, but have them out there in key situations at the end of that Toronto game. Made no sense to me. I mean, I'm all for getting young guys, important and key game experience, but not in that situation.
Well, not together. And they're both figuring out intricacies, so there's no one to lean on. Like, one makes a mistake, and the other has no idea how to clean it up. So you've got a complete disaster area if anybody made a mistake. And I kind of felt bad for both of them in that situation, because it was almost a zero chance of success sort of moment for both of them.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't pair like one of them with Clifton or one of them with Dumba, like putting both of them together. I don't know. Like I said, it just kind of defies logic. And, I think you're agreeing with me. When I saw that pairing, I'm like, okay, they better not play any more than like 6 or 7 minutes. And there they are out there in a game that's 3-1, 3-2. And I'm going, this isn't going to end well. And it sure didn't.
Well, yeah. And I kind of felt like Pickering didn't get his feet underneath of him. And in fact, I know he didn't. And I sort of feel for the guy, because he's starting to get that. There's starting to be a little bit of a fade.
Yes.
On his Rose there. He wasn't drafted by Kyle Dubas, so he's not part of this regime's selection. And he played 20 pretty good games last year. The moment he began to struggle a little bit, got the hook.
He's out. Yep.
Which never made sense to me. And obviously I thought this year they badly needed left-handed defensemen, and they still sent him down. And I know Owen is smart enough, maybe sensitive enough, which might not be the best trait, to realize, geez, I'm not in favor here. I'm not one of the golden boys.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for potential trade candidates other than the obvious, like Kevin Hayes, Noah Chari, Blake Lizotte type of guys.
Interesting.
Pickering might be one of those guys that just needs a change of scenery. And
at 21 years old. Yeah.
I mean,
that would be if they want to get a younger player from somebody else.
Yes.
They've, a Jaeger for McGroarty type trade.
Exactly.
Okay. So do you think Pickering gets back to the NHL this season?
I think he's going to be that guy that's the first guy called up when a defenseman goes down, but I just don't see him sticking here. I mean, the fact that he knew that he had to have a great camp and he did not have a great camp and he didn't make the team. I just think that he's kind of fallen out of favor. I'm not saying he's completely not in their long-term plans, but I think that, like you said, his shine is starting to fade a little bit.
Yeah. Kyle Dubas's sort of very pointed comments. They weren't terse, but they were definitely pointed where Owen has to come in and prove to us, show us that he can be, top four and play more than 17 or 18 minutes a night. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with, establishing yourself as a third pairing guy and playing 17 or 18 minutes to start to get your feet wet? But the Penguins kind of have a bar on him and they're holding to it. Tristan Brose, count me as shocked that he didn't get the call when they needed a center. Instead, Danton Heinen. Now, Heinen led the American Hockey League in scoring.
Yes.
Okay. He's also 30. Bit of a journeyman. Why don't you recall Tristan Brose in that situation?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. That harkened back to me to a Mike Sullivan type of move. In my opinion, you leave Heinen down in the minors. He's having a great season down there. He's kind of your leader, your veteran leader on that team, other than Ryan Graves when he's there. And you bring these young guys up here and see what they can do. That's the whole thing that's supposed to be happening up here at the NHL level right now. You're supposed to be seeing what these young players can do. Danton Heinen is not going to be on this team in 5 years. Tristan Brose should be, hopefully, and might be. Right. But how are you going to know if he's not up here playing? Seeing what he can do. And the other thing is, too, you see it. When these young guys are in the lineup, there's a different energy in the lineup compared to when, Kevin Hayes is in there or, Chari or whoever. No offense to those guys, but it's different. It's a completely different energy. And I watched Heinen yesterday and today. He's not doing anything to impress me. Good on him that he's leading the AHL in scoring, and he's a solid, NHL veteran, third, maybe fourth line guy. But I don't know. I just, if you're trying to have a youth movement, calling up a guy who's 30 years old doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I've got some thoughts on that, but here's what we're going to do, Vince. The Odyssey Podcast Network wants to pay some bills, so we've got more to talk about. Now, on the video side, this conversation keeps rolling. On the podcast side, we take a break right now.
Step into the world of Tim Burton and Danny Elfman with the San Francisco Symphony. Hear music from Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and more. Performed live by the San Francisco Symphony with stunning visuals. Plus, a special live performance by Danny Elfman himself, November 13th and 14th at Davies Symphony Hall. Don't miss Danny Elfman's music from the films of Tim Burton, November 13th and 14th only. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.